looking at the possibilities of having the chance to establish perhaps a few nuclear power plants. Now, as it is presently, how soon do you think we can have one? At least one? Because, you know, you talk about the need for electricity. I mean, it's a major issue all over the country, and whether we like it or not, we can't start talking development without a constant power supply.
First of all, I have to make one point clear. If we're thinking of resorting to nuclear as a quick fix to generate electricity, no, I think that's not the intention. It takes quite a lot of time for planning and implementing a nuclear power program successfully in a sustainable manner. If you would want to build a gas-fired plant, and if you've got the resources, it could be done in 3 to 4 years, from the planning to the actual construction and bringing it online. In the case of a nuclear power plant, depending on the level of technological development in the country, it may take from 8, 9 to probably 10, 12 years. Nigeria approved a nuclear power roadmap in February of 2007, and that is what we are implementing. That particular roadmap has 3 broad phases. The first phase is being able to develop the requisite nuclear power infrastructure, education and training to develop the requisite manpower, the physical infrastructure, educational infrastructure that has to be in place to be able to produce the needed critical human resource base to successfully implement the program. The second component of it is being able to get the needed design approvals, being able to have a site characterization properly done and evaluated and obtaining the licenses. Then the final one is the actual construction of a nuclear power and getting on to operating it. This, in our own estimation, would take something in the neighborhood of about 10 to 13 years. We also have been able to finalize what we call the national strategy to implement the nuclear power program. We call it the strategic plan for the national nuclear power program. That strategic plan was finalized and approved in December of 2009. It envisages that if everything goes on well, we've got the cooperation of Nigerians, the commitment of government, the political will to continue implementing a program that will go on through a number of administrations. One of the key important things that I would want to say is that if a country wants to implement a nuclear power program, it's not something that 1 or 2 people have to say and make it stick. It must have a national commitment over a period of time.
Which I feel has been lacking for quite a while.
It's been lacking, but I think, luckily, the nuclear power program seems to enjoy that. It was started by General Obasanjo as president, then head of state. In 1976, he signed the Nigeria Atomic Energy Commission Act, then as Decree 46 of 1976. He activated the commission 30 years later, and the roadmap for nuclear power development was approved in 2007. It has survived through the Yar'Adua administration. Now it is also been accepted by the Jonathan administration. You might easily say, well, this is just one party, and so if you have a different party, they may think differently. But I don't believe there is any single party in this country that would believe Nigerians don't have or deserve the right to have electricity for our own domestic use as well as for our own industrial development. And so that is quite an important component. And having achieved that, once you've been able to have that commitment over a period of time, then you can begin to break it into components. Have you been able to put the needed regulatory infrastructure in place? Have you been able to develop the needed manpower? What is the cost of the reactor? What exactly is the type of reactor that you want to build? Who are your strategic partners that have the technology and have had experience over the years to be able to implement it successfully? These take time, and I think from what we have done and the strategic plan that has been finalized, we expect to see power being generated from nuclear power plants by the end of this decade.
Is there any limit at all to the number of, let me say, megawatts that the country can actually generate that will be sufficient? You know, talking about our need for electricity. I mean, once we start having some of these nuclear power plants come on stream.
In Nigeria, based on what is available and what has been generated and with our own population, is on the order of about 35 to 40 watts. And so we haven't even gotten to the point of generating enough for our needs. So point of having excess or whatever hasn't risen. I think what we're trying to do is, please, Nigerians have to think inward. Look at all the resources that are available to you, manage them properly, also invest in the technologies in a way that at some point in time we would be able to generate enough electricity, and at the same time being able to conserve some of our own scarce resources that can't be, once they're gone, they're gone.
Now, we've talked about some of the peaceful purposes that they can be used. Of course, like I pointed out earlier, you know, whenever we talk about atomic energy, some have this negative thoughts about it, and of course, rightly so, because spate of violence going on in so many parts of the world. You even have to bring it down to Nigeria. I mean, what's your take? We've seen so many bombings in several parts of the country of recent, and you wonder the technologies that are being used in carrying out some of these acts. I mean, what's your reaction to this?
I think it was a sad start when in 1944 the two bombs, A-bombs, were dropped at Hiroshima and Nagasaki. But that's been the last. After that, I think there is the international consensus that you just can't allow this to happen. And I think shortly thereafter, in the early 50s, the International Atomic Energy Agency was created, one of the UN agencies, to promote the peaceful application of nuclear energy, and also to ensure that there isn't proliferation. And I also would want to tell you that quite a large number of countries that aspire and are implementing programs to utilize nuclear power are very responsible governments. And what they want is being able to tap into this technology in a way that it can improve the standard of living. It can induce development. It can contribute to socio-economic development within that environment. If you're talking about maybe sub-national groups for the purpose of maybe terrorism and so on and so forth, that could be. But you could also realize the international community is sufficiently sensitized to that and is committed to ensuring that it doesn't happen. You have to guard against the possibility of this technology being used for negative purposes, for warfare, for terrorist activities, and so on and so forth. Nigeria is committed to that. We have demonstrated that, like I mentioned, we have been a member of the IAEA for quite a while, and I think one of the first countries that signed onto the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty.
And then the last word on perhaps in terms of legislation from the National Assembly, perhaps that will, you know, give the Commission more bite in trying to make its activities more known to the public.
Thanks for that opportunity. Like I mentioned, the Nigeria Atomic Energy Commission Act was first enacted in August of 1976. It started as a military decree. That, for now, I think we can say is 36 years ago. A law at that point in time, and looking at all the technological developments and international realignments and what has been happening in the industry, needs to be revised. And we're working on that. The document has been fully revised with the support of the IAEA, with all relevant stakeholders here in the country, and would soon be submitted to the National Assembly in a way that the law would become more robust, could address quite a number of the issues that are bordering on safety, security, and safeguard, and also to ensuring that it is strengthened to be able to meaningfully contribute towards the socio-economic development of the country.
Now, of course, let's even look at it, you as a person, as the chairman of the commission, when you go about the business of the day, what really comes to mind? I mean, how do you go about tackling the day's business? Knowing fully well of what you want to achieve.
I think when I get into my office every single day, my worry is that government has taken a decision to implement a nuclear power program. I have been given a responsibility to lead in that effort. How do you lead that effort in a way that it is successful and sustainable? It requires being able to put in place various elements. And for now, what we are concentrating, for which we have the resources and we have significant government support to do, is train the requisite manpower and ensure that this is sustainable. I could also tell you, we in the profession are growing old, so we also have to think about appropriate succession planning. After us, who are the people to take over these programs and will be able to do it successfully. And so appropriate planning for manpower, appropriate planning on the various roles and the people who have to be groomed, occupying them in a way, is quite paramount to me. And implementing a nuclear power program is a task that would go on for decades. Nuclear power plants are designed to operate for now a period of about 60 years. And so once you commit yourself into it, is a century years commitment. And I think those are the things that bother my mind when I get into my office.
Well, on that note, we just have to call it a wrap on the program. We thank you so very much for coming on the program. We do appreciate the time, Dr. Rapamo Osai, Chairman of the Nigerian Atomic Energy Commission. We do thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you all for this opportunity, and we just want Nigerians to understand that this is a serious task. It will take time, and they need to exercise some patience with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Well, so much has been said by Dr. Osai on the need for Nigeria to embrace nuclear energy in order to solve its electricity challenges, and other things like petroleum, radiotherapy, agriculture, and agro-allied chemicals, just to mention a few, which can help boost industrialization in the country. The use of nuclear energy, according to our guest, is for peaceful purposes, and with more support from the federal government and indeed the public, the Nigeria Atomic Energy Commission will certainly achieve its mandate, which is to develop the framework and technical pathway to explore and exploit energy for peaceful application in all areas for the country. Hopefully, the Commission will help fast-track the establishment of maybe 1 or 2 power plants to enable Nigeria meet its energy needs. Well, this is what we expect to see and hope that this will also be achieved, especially as Nigeria's power generation from atomic energy will ensure steady, longer power supply in the country, especially in the long run. Well, that's our package for this week. We certainly hope you've enjoyed it. Well, don't forget that you can send us your questions, comments, and suggestions to questiontime@channelstv.com, or you can also watch us online at channelstv.com. I'm Ayatunde Balogun. Until next week, it's bye for now.